when you won the London Olympics, you looked so measured on that start line. Yeah. I know you probably didn't feel it, and then when you crossed that finish line, it looked like complete and utter shock.
Yeah.
What was that kind of experience like? Because I know you've gone from almost straight into that senior squad.
Yeah.
You hadn't even, you've done sort of lightweight single at senior level. You've done the World Cup, so you were in the mix, but certainly not
pretty far off though.
Well, I know you were fourth in your final race, but second in the first.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that been like going? Because I know you were definitely the form crew. You could see through the regatta, you won your heat and semi.
Yeah.
But yeah, just go through that.
I think we were in amazing form, and I actually think a lot of that was mentally. And I have found that throughout my career, I've had things that have gone really well like that. I've had things that have gone really, really blooming bad. And actually, I think, there have been like some physical changes. Sometimes I've had overtraining or my training hasn't gone as well. But I'd say actually the variation of how you are physically isn't very much. And being in the right place mentally, like when I know that I'm happy in myself, I feel on my game, I've got all my preparation right, like up here, like I'll go well. And when I haven't had good results, it's probably been more mentally rather than because of physically. So London, I did pretty much just jump into the team compared to most people. Yeah. I had been to Senior Worlds the year before, but really even for that, I finished under 23s, went on camp with the seniors for 2 weeks, and then pretty much flew out to Slovenia and just joined in with them. I didn't really know anyone. I didn't really join in with the training that much because I was young, so I was on like a really reduced program. So that was great to watch people, but I still didn't really understand what it was to be a senior athlete. And then with the year leading into London, I was at Tees pretty much all of the time on my own. We were just running through fields of sheep until like April time. I won final trials and then just got literally, I remember sitting down with David Tanner, who was performance director at the time, and he was like, okay, so you can find somewhere to live, we'll just stay here now. So then I was like, oh, so I'm not going home, I'm moving down. That was it. I was at Camp Shimon in the team. I think in a way that was great for me, especially because it was a home Olympics. Like, I did and I didn't feel pressure. I didn't in the sense that I always thought if I went to an Olympics, Rio would be my first one.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would go to London, really. I only started entertaining the idea that it was a possibility, like at the beginning of that season.
Yeah.
So I think because of that, everything just coming quite quick was quite good for me because I didn't have the pressure. Like, it wasn't like Rio where I thought I've trained for 4 years for this. Like, I had been training really hard, but I'd only like really got in the April, like a few months before. And then I said it wasn't, I didn't have pressure because also at the same time it obviously did mean a lot to me, and I'm a very competitive person, and I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to the Olympics to get the lycra in my head. And you never know because you don't know what other crews are going to be like, but in my head I was like, but I want to win. Like, I want to win. Why would you go and not want to win? Like, that's what everyone dreams of. So the lead-up races were actually really hard, and it was a bit of a roller coaster getting together. Obviously in rowing, a lot of it is how in sync you are with your crewmate, and we were racing crews that had been together for years and who'd been world champions together, and we just had a few months really to like get to know each other, get to know how each other moved, work out how we were going to race.
So then you flipped to stroke after your last race before the Olympics? Or you flipped to bowser?
So I was stroking, I think, most of the prep races, like the World Cup and I can't remember if it was Europeans at that time or the World Cups.
Europeans were after the Olympics.
Yeah, so the World Cups I was stroking, and that was a conscious decision that Reedy made. We always thought that Sophie would go back to stroke. But because I was quite young and new, I think the thinking was he didn't want to overload me, and if I just sit and stroke, I can just do what I want, and Sophie will follow and do the calls and make sure we stay in a straight line, and I can just like sit and roll along. So he actually I think that was really smart, and I didn't appreciate it at the time because you're in it and you just do what you're told.
Yeah.
But he did stuff like that. I remember when we were in Lucerne, we were pretty much rate capped, so we just target rated 32, which actually we ended up rating a lot higher at London. But that was because we needed to get together and everything was like a stepping stone up, rather than just going in and being like, unleash, let's see what we can do. There was a real like thought out process to it, which I can really appreciate now looking back. And that's actually quite hard to do and hold your nerve when, yes, you're thinking the Olympics is the end goal, but also you are under pressure to perform beforehand, like the athletes and the coaches, and getting a good result will give you confidence. And I think the first World Cup we did, we came second, and that's when I was like, okay, I think we can do something, this is really exciting. Then after that we came fourth, and I think actually one of them we came sixth, because I remember in Lucerne I think we came fifth or sixth, because I remember I was actually really upset at that point because I was like, we're really, really far off the pace. I remember literally in the race I was turning around and the Kiwis were like so fast in the World Cups, and they were like about, I don't know what, 15 seconds ahead. I was just like, I can't even see them, they're so far ahead, I don't know how we're going to catch up that distance. And I remember doing a warm down walk with my mum who'd come to watch, and I was like, we're trying so hard and we've come fourth. And my mum looked at me and she was like, oh, she was like, you came sixth. And I was like, oh. Because it was close at the line, I didn't even realise. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, it was, I'd be lying if I said it was really easy to keep our nerve and be confident. Like there were times after some of the races when I think we were both a bit like, oh God, like we've got a big gap to fill. But I think what kept us on track, really kept us on track really well. I think like what I said before, him having a real thought out plan of how we were going to go from A to B and get to the Olympics was really helpful. He just is quite like a sturdy character anyway, like quite solid. Sophie is really mentally robust, like probably the most robust person I've ever rode with mentally, in terms of she's very rational, very clear, she knows what she wants, and she's like so tenacious. And I think we also had in our back pocket the fact that because I was younger and we were a new crew combination, our progression curve was always going to be steeper than crews that had been together a long time. So that really helped us then going into training camps before. We had a work camp and then a taper camp before the Olympics. And I think that for us, like those 4 or 5 weeks, that's where the medal was won almost, because every day we just had a really clear idea of what we wanted the outcome of the session to be. We were so focused in the sessions, like we didn't waste a stroke. If we had anything we wanted to air with each other, like their communication was amazing, we would just say it, we wouldn't take offence, like everything was really clear and focused. And at the back of those camps we'd done, I think we ended up breaking the world record twice on camp in our 2K prep pieces. So then we could finish that and go and fly back to London thinking like, okay, we're good, but the caveat with that is you never know what else is going to turn up. Like if we think about the Tokyo Olympics, how many of those crews like have broken a world record or could, like probably the whole field. You probably needed to be capable of breaking a world record just to get into the final. So you never know, but all you can do is it sounds really cliche, do your best, know that you're going well, keep a cool head, and what happens.